You know what's crazy? While everyone's losing their minds over AI, some of the smartest people in finance are quietly saying the whole thing might be about to collapse. And I'm not talking about random haters on Twitter. I'm talking about hedge fund managers who've seen this exact pattern before. So here's the thing nobody wants to talk about. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT that everyone thinks is worth billions and billions of dollars, is actually bleeding money. Like, a lot of money. We're talking about losing $12 billion every single quarter. Let me say that again because it sounds fake, but it's not. $12 billion every 3 months. That's like lighting a massive pile of cash on fire 4 times a year and just hoping someone will give you more cash to burn. Now, there's this guy named George Noble. He's a hedge fund manager, which means his entire job is figuring out which companies are actually worth investing in and which ones are just smoke and mirrors. And George is basically saying that ChatGPT is on the brink of falling apart. Not in like 5 years. Not eventually, like soon. And when someone whose job is to understand money says something like that, you should probably pay attention. But here's where it gets really interesting. You'd think with all this AI hype, companies would be hiring more and more people for their AI teams, right? Wrong. Companies like Meta and Amazon, these absolutely massive tech giants, are actually laying off people from their AI divisions. Think about that for a second. If AI is supposed to be the future and the next big thing that's going to change everything, why are the biggest companies in the world cutting their AI teams? That's like saying you believe electric cars are the future and then firing everyone who works on batteries. And this brings me to something that's going to blow your mind about how this whole AI thing actually works. You know how everyone's investing crazy amounts of money into AI? Well, it turns out it's kind of like a game of hot potato but with billions of dollars. The same money is just going in circles between the same big companies. Let me explain how this works because it's actually wild. Nvidia makes the chips that AI companies need to run their systems. These aren't normal computer chips. They're super powerful and super expensive. Now, Nvidia has invested money in OpenAI. Sounds normal, right? Except, here's the catch. Part of the deal is that OpenAI has to buy their chips from Nvidia. So Nvidia gives OpenAI money, and then OpenAI gives that money right back to Nvidia to buy chips. It's like if I gave you $20, but only if you promise to spend it at my lemonade stand. I'm not really giving you anything. I'm just making it look like my lemonade stand is doing great business. And this same pattern is happening all over the place with all the big tech companies. They're all investing in each other's AI projects, but they're also all selling services to each other. So the same revenue is just spinning around and around between Microsoft and OpenAI and Nvidia and all these other companies. On paper, it looks like everyone's making tons of money. But if you actually follow where the money goes, it's just the same dollars changing hands over and over again. It's like if you and your friends kept selling the same baseball card back and forth to each other for higher and higher prices. Sure, on paper that baseball card keeps getting more valuable. But no new money is actually coming in. You're just playing pretend with the same $20. Now, a lot of people are comparing this to the dot-com bubble from the late 90s and early 2000s. And yeah, there are definitely similarities. Back then, everyone thought the internet was going to change everything. And they were kind of right. But they were also kind of wrong about the timing and which companies would actually matter. People were investing in any company that had .com in its name, even if that company had no idea how to actually make money. They were just burning through cash, hoping that somehow, eventually, they'd figure it out. Sound familiar? That's basically what's happening with AI right now. Everyone's throwing money at anything with AI in the name, even if there's no clear path to actually making a profit. If you're finding this interesting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going to keep diving into the stuff that the tech world doesn't want you to understand. But here's where the AI bubble is different from the dot-com bubble, and in some ways, it's actually worse. During the dot-com era, at least the technology was new and we didn't really know what the internet could do yet. We were figuring it out. With AI, we actually kind of know what it can and can't do right now. And the problem is that what it can do costs way, way, way more money than anyone is willing to pay for it. Think about ChatGPT. It's cool, right? You can ask it questions, it can help you write stuff, it can explain things. But would you pay $50 a month for it? $100? Because that's closer to what it actually costs to run. OpenAI is charging people $20 a month for the premium version, but they're losing money on every single user. It's like if a restaurant sold you a burger for $5, but the burger actually cost them $15 to make. You can't just make that up by selling more burgers. You're losing more money with every customer. And here's the really scary part. All these AI companies keep saying, don't worry, we'll figure out how to make it cheaper later. We'll optimize things. The technology will get better and more efficient. But what if it doesn't? What if we're already pretty close to as efficient as this technology can get? Then what? Then you have companies that are fundamentally built on a business model that cannot work. And that's when bubbles pop. The dot-com bubble at least had some companies that survived and actually changed the world. Amazon was losing money during the dot-com era. But they had a real business model. They were selling actual products to actual people. They just needed time to scale up. Google had a real product that people wanted and eventually figured out how to make money with advertising. But with AI, it's not clear what the equivalent is. What's the thing that's going to make all this investment actually pay off? Everyone keeps talking about how AI is going to revolutionize everything. Healthcare, education, transportation, you name it. And maybe it will. But revolutionizing things and making money are two completely different things. The internet revolutionized everything, but most of the companies that were around during the dot-com bubble went bankrupt anyway. And this gets back to those layoffs at Meta and Amazon. These companies aren't stupid. They have entire teams of people whose job is to figure out what's actually going to be profitable. And if they're cutting their AI teams, that's a pretty strong signal that they've done the math and realized this isn't going to pay off the way everyone hoped. Here's another thing that's different from the dot-com bubble. Back then, it was a lot of smaller companies and startups that went bust. This time, we're talking about the biggest companies in the world betting everything on AI. Microsoft has invested over $10 billion in OpenAI. Google is spending insane amounts on their AI projects. If this bubble pops, it's not going to be like last time where some startups disappeared and everyone moved on. This could actually hurt the biggest tech companies in the world. And remember that circular money thing we talked about? That makes everything even more fragile. Because if one company in that circle starts to struggle, it affects all the others. If OpenAI can't pay Nvidia for chips, then Nvidia's revenue goes down, which means Nvidia has less money to invest in other AI companies, which means those companies have less money to spend on cloud services from Microsoft and Amazon, and round it goes. The whole thing is connected like a house of cards. George Noble isn't the only one noticing this, by the way. More and more investors are starting to ask uncomfortable questions. Where's the profit? When will these companies actually make money? How much longer can they keep burning billions and billions of dollars? And the answers they're getting back are basically, trust us. It'll work out eventually. But eventually is starting to feel like never. The thing is, AI is real technology that does real things. This isn't fake or a scam in that sense. But just because technology is real, doesn't mean the companies building it are worth what people think they're worth. Flying cars are real technology too. But that doesn't mean a flying car company is automatically going to be successful or profitable. What we're seeing is the difference between hype and reality catching up with each other. The hype says AI is going to change everything tomorrow and make everyone rich. The reality is that it's really expensive. The business models don't work yet, and nobody knows if they ever will. And when reality catches up with hype, that gap usually closes pretty fast and pretty painfully. So what happens next? Honestly, nobody knows for sure. Maybe someone figures out how to make AI actually profitable. Maybe some breakthrough happens that makes it way cheaper to run. Maybe people decide they're willing to pay way more for it than they currently are. Or maybe, just maybe, we're watching a bubble inflate bigger and bigger, and everyone who's seen this before is quietly backing away, and one day soon it's just gonna pop. And when it does, it's going to be a lot louder than when those dot-com companies disappeared, because this time, it's the giants who are going to fall.